Hey, what's up guys? Today I'm filming my May wrap up. Yes, it is now July. Yes, I haven't uploaded in over a month again. Let's just move on. I am filming on a brand new phone today, so I don't know if the quality will be different. Hopefully, I mean, it should be. Hopefully it should be because I paid for it. But, I don't know if you'll be able to tell. And also, I need to use a new app, so I need to learn a whole new app for editing my videos because the last one on my old phone, I paid £5 for lifetime access once, like lifetime access. On the new phone, the same app wanted like £30 per month now for the VIP experience. I was like, you weren't even that good anyway, like it was so glitchy and stuff. So I'm trying a whole new app, so hopefully that goes to plan. I mean, by the time you watch this, there's nothing you can do to help me, but it'll be a learning experience. But anyway, yeah, so today I'm really talking about some of the books I read in May. Not all of them, I'm just gonna talk about the highlights. I just have some books that, when you read a book, and you just don't have much to say about it. Like, I write Goodreads reviews for every single book that I read, so if you want to find out my thoughts on every single book, follow me or be friends with me on Goodreads down below. The links are all in the description. But yeah, some books I'm just not going to talk about in this video. But anyway, I hope you enjoyed this video. I am looking forward to filming again. Hopefully I stick to it this time, we'll see. And I'm going to Yalk in London on Wednesday, so if you're going, let me know. I feel like I already know everyone that's going that I interact with and talk to, but if we haven't said we're going, let me know in the comments. And yeah, if you enjoyed this video, please leave a like, please subscribe, and all that fun stuff. I'll definitely be making a Yelk vlogs. Don't know if it'll be one vlog, maybe two vlogs. We'll see. But yeah, I'm really looking forward to it. So anyway, without any further ado, let's talk about the first book that I read in May. The first book I'm going to talk about today is Interview with the Vampire by Anne Rice, and as most of you probably are aware, this is like the staple vampire book after Dracula. I would say it goes like Dracula, Interview, and then Twilight with like the eras of vampirism. Interview really brought vampires into the modern era. Anne Rice made them sexy, she made them philosophical, she just made them, complex, interesting characters. And I did really enjoy Interview. However, I don't think I'm going to continue on with this series. This first book is pretty much exactly what the title says. It's an interview with a vampire telling his story of how he became a vampire and his early years being a vampire and what it was like, his relationships with other characters and stuff like that. And I did really enjoy Anne Rice's prose. I thought that it was really sexual and graphic at times, and there was such a seduction to the vampires that was unlike any other story I've read, because Twilight is pretty PG for the most part. Dracula is much more of a classic. Interview is like right in that sweet spot where it's just full of temptation and drama and sexual energy, and it was really interesting, and I did really enjoy the characters and stuff, but it took me a while to get into. And our three main characters are Louis, Claudia, and Lestat, and I thought all of them were really interesting in their own ways. They all had their own theories and thoughts about vampirism, and their stories of how they became vampires are all very different, so that really affects their experience and stuff. But I don't know, I just didn't feel intrigued enough to continue on with the series right now. Maybe in the future it'll be one I come back to, but I think for now it was like a really good standalone novel for me, and I don't really want to continue on with the Vampire Chronicles. So the next book we're going to talk about is A Glasgow Kiss by Sophie Gravia, and she's a Scottish author, and this is a romance erotica set in Glasgow, and it follows a dental nurse, I think it is, called Zara, who is trying to find a boyfriend, and she gets into all these different funny situations and goes on these kind of terrible dates and stuff like that. And then the dentist, I think it is, at her practice starts taking an interest in her, and things go on from there. I really love this book. I thought it was so funny. I listened to it on audiobook, and the narrator was so perfect. She was from Glasgow herself, I'm assuming, from her accent. So she got like all of the dialect and the kind of tone inflections of the characters' voices and stuff so perfectly. It just felt so realistic, and at times I felt like she was just telling me a funny story rather than like listening to an audiobook, which is always the best experience when it seems like an audiobook is literally someone talking to you. And I just thought this book was, like I said, really funny. Although it's erotica at times, all the sex scenes and stuff are played more for laughs than to be erotic. Like, it's much more of a comedy than a erotic book. But all of it was just so perfect. Like, the tone and everything, just like the Scottish sense of humour was so perfect. I really loved all that. And I thought Zara was an interesting character. She was nice, and there wasn't too much to her, from what I remember, but she was just like one of those kind of perfect funny protagonists that you expect from like a comedy romance book. So that was really fun. I do have one slight problem with the book though, and that was at times it felt a little mean spirited. Like some of the stuff that Zara and her best friend, I think it is, would say about like other women, or that Zara would just think about other women, like in her monologue and stuff, was kind of nasty. She could be quite mean to herself as well. She really beat herself up a lot, and that always wasn't the nicest. But overall, it was a really funny book, and I would definitely recommend the audiobook more than the physical one. Obviously, I don't know, the physical one might be great as well, but I just thought the audiobook added so much to my reading experience. Another book that I listened to on audiobook was A Kind of Spark by Elle McNicoll, and this follows a young girl who is autistic, and she is from Scotland. She discovers that in her village's history, they burned witches back whenever that happened. I'm so bad with history. And she just realizes that because she's also different, she could have been burned as a witch back then, and she wants to raise money to build a memorial or some sort of plaque or something to honour these women that were murdered for being witches. And people in the town push back on her, and they're like, that's a waste of money, blah blah blah. But she does not give up, and she wants to achieve her goals. And obviously there's a lot more to the story as well. You see her in school, you see her dealing with her family, and just overall I thought it was such an interesting and really entertaining book that still taught me a lot. I think Elle McNicoll really gives you a lot of lessons on things to do with autism without making them seem like lessons. They really flow in the story naturally. They don't ever feel like, okay, the story stops and we're having like a little information session. It's not like that. Just everything really flows and works really well. And I really loved that. I feel like I learned a lot from it. I also really loved how our main character had two older sisters, and one sister was also autistic and one of them wasn't. So you saw her navigating the relationships with both sisters, and we saw how both relationships are different, but they both loved her just the same. And I loved that. I thought the whole thing was really heartwarming and beautiful. And overall, like, just such a really nice story that I definitely would recommend to anyone. It had such a hopeful tone to it, and I just finished it and I was just so happy. And I actually read another one of Elle McNicoll's books. So then I listened to Show Us Who You Are, which is also by Elle McNicoll, and I listened to it again on audiobook. And this was a sci-fi novel, again with an autistic main character, and I just absolutely loved that because it's giving autistic characters a time to shine in different genres, and I just absolutely love that, and I hope that the author really keeps that up, and I just think it's such a beautiful thing, so that you don't normally see. So this book is about our main character Cora, who makes friends with this boy, and this boy's father is the CEO of this like fancy technological company that are making AI of people that are dead, and they want to use Cora in some experiments to help them with their AI. And I'll leave it there, that's all I'll say. But I, again, thought this was so fun. I absolutely just adored the main character and her best friend. And, like the whole mystery of the company and everything like that was just done so well. And again, this was aimed at like a middle grade type audience, but I loved it just as much, and I don't typically read, middle grade type books. I think anyone would enjoy this. And again, it taught you, some stuff about autism that you probably don't really know. And yeah, overall, it just like really impressed with this author's books, and will definitely read their third book and whatever else they put out in the future. I was really glad that I got to read Gone by Michael Grant at last in May. And this is a book, it's a very classic YA story at this point, which I've always seen around, but just never read. And I'm finally done it, and I actually loved it, and I'm so annoyed I hadn't read it sooner. But anyway, it is about a town/city where suddenly, just like snap of a finger, everyone over the age of 16 disappears, and then all the kids have to kind of band together, different factions build up and stuff, and they're just trying to work out what is going on, where are the adults, can they escape, like what can they do, like how do they fix it, like all these questions that you can imagine in a situation like that. And then to make things even crazier, a lot of the kids start developing superpowers, and things just explode from there. I was so impressed with this book. It was so fast paced, it was so fun. I genuinely could not put it down. I was just reading. I read it so fast, I'm sure, from what I remember. And just because there was always something happening where I just had to know what was going to happen next. And yeah, I really want to continue on this series. I keep meaning to go to the library because it's one of those books that I know the library has because they're such like YA classics at this point. But I just haven't had the chance. But yeah, I actually loved Gone so much. I did have some complaints though, so the characters were very one-dimensional. Like every single character kind of had like their role and their traits, and they filled that role and they filled those traits, but that was like all there was to them for the most part. So I'm hoping, because it's pretty long, I think it's like 6 or 7 books, I'm hoping in the future books, they develop a bit more. But I'm really interested to see how things develop, because in the book, once people turned 16, they disappeared, and obviously our main characters, like, are they going to be our main characters for the whole series? I would assume so, but I don't know. So yeah, I really need to continue on. I also really liked how Michael Grant answered like every question I had. So I'd be thinking like, oh my god, what about like the babies that are like left in houses? He answered that. It's like, what about farming? He answered that. It's like, what about this? What about that? Like every single question I had in my brain that kind of was like poking holes in the concept of the book, he had an answer for, and I absolutely love that. I love when an author just fully explains everything and doesn't leave any room for you to be like, oh, what about this? What about that? Because sometimes you can't help yourself doing that in stories, but yeah, he answered every question and I really liked it. And yeah, really, really need to continue on with the Gone series. A book that really surprised me was Made by Stephanie Land. This is a non-fiction book about Stephanie surviving poverty and homelessness and becoming a maid to try and get money to feed her daughter and herself. And I just absolutely love this book. I was given it by my friend for Christmas, and when I read the description, I was like, how interesting is this going to be? And I put it off for ages, and then in May I picked it up and I was like, oh my god, like I read it so fast. It is written in such a straightforward, like matter-of-fact way that you can just fly right through it, and there's so much interesting little stories and stuff going on within it that I just really did not expect from the premise. So she describes like different people's houses that she goes into, and she like kind of makes up stories about the people's lives as you would do. There's ones that she never even sees and stuff like that, and there's others she like bumps into, and she just has all these like ideas of who they are based on the stuff in their house and how dirty their house is and things like that. Which again, when you're saying it, it doesn't sound that interesting, but like trust me, it is. It felt so nosy. Like if you are quite a nosy person that just wants to know like what's going on in other people's lives, this is the book for you. I just really enjoyed reading it. There's also a really serious side to it as well, because she goes into the whole like trapment of poverty. Like she, for example, just the book in the book, if she earned a couple dollars more than normal, she could then lose hundreds of dollars worth of government benefits. So it's like this trap where she can't earn more because it actually makes her have less money, and it doesn't delves into a lot of stuff like that, which I thought was really powerful and moving and just really informative as well. The world is getting so expensive, and I mean, from what I hear, America is like the worst for it out of like the Western world. But here things are getting expensive every single day, and people do live paycheck to paycheck, and it's actually quite scary how easy people can become homeless. Especially in like 2022, it should not happen, but sadly it does. And yeah, I just thought this book was so much better than I ever could have imagined, just based on the premise and the title and stuff. And I would highly recommend it if you like non-fiction, but even if you don't, because it does have quite a fictional aspect to it, with just her going on these houses and cleaning and theorizing and all the stuff that happens in her life. It's a really interesting book. So those are all of the books that I'm going to talk about today in this video. I do have some others that I read in May that I do want to talk about, but I have some ideas swirling around my head. I want to do another Scottish recommendations video, and I want to do a video, actually I won't even say it out loud. It's just another video idea that I have for summer. So I will talk about all the books, or not all of them, most of the books at some point. But yeah, if you enjoyed this video, please leave a like and please subscribe. Let me know your thoughts on any of these books in the comments down below. Check out all my social media and stuff linked down below. I'm still not on Twitter. I don't think I'm ever going to come back to Twitter, to be honest. I just don't care about it. I'm sorry. It puts me in such a negative mind space. Like, I just don't think I can deal with Twitter. But I'm on Instagram. I'm on Goodreads. I'm on Letterboxd. That's mainly it, to be honest. But yeah, check out all the stuff down below. Leave a like, and I will see you in my next video.